Yes. All right. So welcome everybody to Monday Morning Motivation. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining and tuning in today at 8 a.m. to join us and Yolanda to talk about hurt. Now, this, as we had experienced at the 7 a.m., this might be a topic that we don't often talk about, but I think that Yolanda's sharing is very, very insightful and very, very important for everybody to hear and to start thinking about this in a different way. So we'll get started with Yolanda in just a second. Before that, let me share a little bit more about Monday Morning Motivation for anybody who's new. We're a community on WeChat, and it's all about creating healthy habits and getting up a little bit earlier on a Monday morning. That's why we do this every Monday morning at 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. Same topic twice through online. And we're a community that tries to empower each other and motivate and inspire each other. So that's why we have lots of different topics and lots of different speakers that can offer their perspective for everybody to get a lot of information, inspiration, motivation, or just learning something new on a Monday morning. In case you are not in the WeChat groups, feel free to scan the QR code on the slide. That's my QR code, and I will be adding you into our WeChat groups. We have a lot of different speakers coming up, and we'll be sharing that just in a little while. And this is all weird now. There we go. As I said, we do this every Monday morning, and all the webinars on a Monday morning will always be for free, but we do have a donation page in case you guys want to donate. We give half of the proceeds to the 1 Million Tree Project, which helps plant a tree in Inner Mongolia, and that's a charity that we have been working for a few years now, and we donate half of the proceeds to them, and they are doing great work for the environment. In case you missed any of the webinars, there's a QR code in the yellow flyer, and you can get all of those for the past ones. And in case just one webinar on Monday morning is not enough to get you motivated, we have our 365 Days of Motivation book, which is a printed or e-version, and we do have a lot of quotes every day or reflections and gratitude. It's a great tool to get your day started in a great way. You can use it every day, or you can use it when you want, and it's available. So if you're interested, there's the QR code. And that's it for my spiel. I'll get back to you guys after Yolanda's speech. So let me unshare my screen. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining. And Yolanda, please, we're all here to hear from you.
Thank you, Maria. Yes, that's great. Yeah, good morning to everyone here. My name is Yolanda Vom Hagen, and I'm blessing you this morning with this topic. It was my idea, okay, I have to admit, it was my idea to put hurt into a Monday morning. Maybe I wasn't thinking too much about it, how to start the week. I'm not as professional as Maria and Janine. But anyway, after all, I hope it will be rather an uplifting and useful talk for you. And as I'm a photographer, and I started my journey of self-growth in 2016, having grown up in a more complicated environment, I got quite early very familiar with various situations and belief systems that would lead me to feeling hurt. Over the last years, I found many different ways to work with these feelings and even to use them as important source for my personal art projects. Now I'm working as empowerment art coach, and I use also a lot of visualization and vision like images for my work. So hurt is, in my opinion, a place where one can gather a lot of knowledge about the self. It is a place where we are most vulnerable, and that is why it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people to be there. So it's a space with loads of information about our biggest fears, unfulfilled desires, insecurities, judgmental inner beliefs and voices, a place of trauma, self-hatred, maybe even neglect, or beliefs of limitations of being loved or not good enough. So the list is quite long, I would say, and for everyone it's different. So due to hurt often being a space of uncertainty and overwhelm, the majority of people decide to process it by simply handing over the responsibility of their feelings to the triggers. Or with other exit strategies like addiction, maybe drinking, so this is also actually ways to avoid facing the depths and root cause of the feelings. But by doing so, we actually deprive ourselves the possibility to move us out of unserving programmings. So let's look into how we can utilize our hurt in a way that helps us to grow. First of all, there are many reasons and roots for feeling hurt. Thoughts of being rejected, betrayed, or not good enough, or maybe not being loved. Or there might be unmet desires and expectations. So who doesn't know the hurt coming from sadness or anger when parents, clients, or a boss tells us that we didn't perform properly, or we can't have something we need or want? Who doesn't know the hurt coming from confusion or loss after figuring out a betrayal? Who doesn't know the hurt coming from disappointment or frustration when being rejected? There are several ways on how to answer situations of feeling hurt. That's your keyword, Miss Maria. To be very frank, upfront, the first step for me to understand was that people or events can be the trigger of feelings, but they aren't the reason for them. So it's us that have attached certain meanings to situations. That is also the reason why the reaction and feelings can differ from person to person, even though we are going through the same event. So it is our perception of reality and the meaning we give it that causes our reactions. I won't go into it much deeper because, it's really worth a lot of studies, for example, NLP. But in our mind, it's very important. So with this, I would like to share about a possible first aid kit. So I call it like this. I hope it makes sense. First aid kit, like the quickie one. I learned about it in 2016, and it really was my entrance ticket into more empathy for myself and also for others. It's called nonviolent communication, and more, it is also known under the name compassionate communication. Because it is promoting a language and a thought patterns or thought processes that are coming from a space that is free of judgment, mind reading, and also free of guilt, blame, and shame as communication ground. And it all starts with ourselves taking over responsibility for our feelings as they are broadcasted by our individual unmet needs. So it contributed majorly to my capacity. I think you can unshare, like stop sharing. It contributed majorly to my capacity to get aware of the root cause of my hurt. The awareness of my unmet needs that lead to me feeling hurt gave me the capacity to give myself empathy right away. And often with this came the release of the feelings and regaining of power. Knowing what needs of yours aren't met usually comes with a lot of insights about your belief systems, and that might lead you deeper into knowing and understanding yourself, which is the actual superpower for self-growth in alliance with your feelings of hurt. So, but before we go there, because that belongs to a more deeper work, let's stay a little bit more hands-on and give a little action plan. So, when you are feeling hurt, the first step that you can do is ask yourself, is what I'm experiencing in the moment real? Or am I mixing it up with a past situation and conflict? In many situations, we are reacting to something which might have nothing to do with what is happening right now. The rising feelings we have are mixed up with some former experiences we haven't been able to process, give space to, or take care of or heal yet. So that is why they come up again. So the question is, what are you reacting on, and does that really connect with the present? This needs time, and is such a situation where you are right on in it, a hurtful situation, you might also just like get a pattern of asking, what do you mean? You might also watch your self-talk. Are there a lot of generalizations coming up in the moment? Words like always or never are really great indicators of that you're mixing up a situation in a moment. In a case you can recognize your thought processes moving into beliefs that might not be related to the situation, you can stop yourself. Just try to stop it. Sounds easy, but it's not that easy, but try it deliberately. Stop your thought process and ask yourself, what is my belief right now? And is that the truth for the particular situation? Often it's actually not. And actually, I'm not saying like it is important. Obviously it is. But for the quick kid, you know, this is all that is needed right now. In the case you are in the present moment, but you are disabled to act upon your values and boundaries, you also can proceed with the next step I'm giving you now, which is, what do you actually want? And then check if what you actually want is prevented or not reachable anymore. Or if looking from a different angle can give you the capacity to find and choose a new strategy or belief to move on. You know, so it's all about getting aware, and then what do you want, and is what you want actually really prevented, you know, or can just be like a different strategy help you to still get what you need. In the case the situation involves another person, communicating in a way to understand the other person, to understand the other person's motivation after you have given yourself empathy, brings the capacity to find a different strategy, to find common ground together. So basically, that's it. A major step towards more awareness to enhance one's ownership and capacity for choice. So let me share a situation with you where I radically did this, just to make it a little bit more understandable. So a very important friend of mine sent me a message saying, hope you don't mind I become a little bit exclusive and less social. Even as a good friend and good neighbor, my love remains the same. Even I don't contact you so much. And so while it was a very kind message, and it was just informing me that he's less social and that's why he connects less with me, but the love remains the same, you know, what was hurting me or what I was reacting on was not kind of like not understanding that there won't be too much change aside the fact that we cannot meet so much, but was hurting me was a sudden box and naming of our relationship, being one of a good friend and neighbor. So I was narrowing it down to that information, and suddenly my mind went into the beliefs that my love is restricted and narrowed down to this kind of connection of a neighbor. And so then my mind moved on to all the stories of me trying to give love, but it was restricted in a certain way. And so from this situation, you can see that the initial hurt was rooted in the belief of rejection. And so I felt surprised, constrained, and anxious by this message because I couldn't see how I can fulfill my need of connecting and love. In the moment I got aware that his message doesn't necessarily mean what I interpreted into it, and I stopped acting on my traumas of rejection, I was able to choose how I want to feel about it. and that my love can flow in any way, with or without the other party. So, because when I asked myself, what do I want? The answer was, I want to love. And so, and then I was like, okay, he didn't tell me to don't love him. And so then the whole scatter of this hurt and rejection and whatever, fell apart. That was already a good thing. So when doing this for a while, you might become aware that many situations hurt you because of a common belief pattern of yours, like being rejected, not loved, not good enough, and so on. This is like a programming. Everyone has different programmings, right? And you might consider at one point to go into a deeper dialogue with your internal voices telling you these things. And that is the deep work process. So, which is kind of spot on, taking over full ownership of your self-growth and healing journey. It basically means to move from being a victim of cause and effect driven behavior to self-curated behavior, meaning you are becoming to have choice and being more an observer. So, and what can help here is actually knowing that the past doesn't exist apart from being a thought process in our mind. Therefore, we are the only ones that can heal them. Not saying that nobody can help you. Actually, oftentimes it is crucial to find a professional support in the case you get lost or it simply is too painful to go in there by yourself. But in general, nobody can heal your trauma, and trauma is past, right? By saying sorry or acknowledging what has happened. When going deeper into the root cause of our hurt, it's only us that can give the traumatized, hurt, or neglected, or betrayed, or abandoned self what it needed and it's apparently still seeking for. So how can that work? There are many ways of doing this work. And I just will briefly share one way with you, because I've used that way. So after having done self-empathy work and being aware of what beliefs you act upon, you can go deeper. Asking yourself, who in you has experienced this struggle before? Sometimes connecting to your body that usually reacts at certain areas when experiencing emotions can help to hear or see messages or situations of the past. When having found this inner voice or self, it is important to look at it from a disassociated state, to look at it from an outside observer perspective, like you would be a videographer, okay? And to go there kind of as a friend or kind of a parent. And here we want to use again what I explained in the beginning, empathic listening, free from judgment, free from giving advice, making things logic, explaining or trying to heal your former self or your inner voice. Because, the rationalization we did already. We know it all already. But that doesn't change the feelings, because feelings aren't rational. They just are. And it is us not having been able to live or express them that make them still alive, or that make them being preserved in us. And so that's why it's crucial that when you go back there and you are going into a dialogue, that you let that be expressed without any judgment. It's just about giving space to express. And in this process, you can just listen, and you might ask what it wishes, what is needed, that inner self. Like, just ask them. It's like, okay, what do you need? Or, and it's not like, how can I repair you? So, and that is what you can offer and give. You know, often it might be just a hug, or it might be just a, I don't know. Like I helped a client, she made a birthday party for her inner self, because she felt like neglected. She felt like lonely, and she was sad about that. And so that was connecting. And what we did, we gave that inner child or inner voice what it needed back then. And it was like community, it was like fun, it was relaxation, you know. And that's only a sample. So try it out and see how it works for you. And remember, when you go there, come back. It's a past. You don't want to stay there too long. It's just accommodate and give what that what that hurt you needed, but don't get stuck there. Life is not about suffering. And so for the end, I wanted to share like the slide. And also like consider to get support, because sometimes this space can also of suffering can also be a comfort zone. And so it needs bravery to go there, to be willing to go there. And it needs a lot of power to also like go out there. But it's a very beautiful process, because giving yourself what you have needed back then is just very beautiful. It just also feels very good, and it has a lot of ripple effect. So anyway, so to wrap it up, I would like to share another thing that might be helpful for you to accept more of what is. It helped me a lot. And this is like, at any given moment, every person and situation is of service to us to grow. And I am at any given moment and situation of service to others to grow. And so I feel that I wrote it actually, and I feel that gave me a lot of acceptance towards who I am, how I feel, and what I'm doing. And especially also it gave me a lot of acceptance and knowledge and gratitude to what I have experienced in the past, and to what I experience every day. So it makes me also very curious about every new person who is coming. It's like, okay, what is there for me now to learn? So it really opens me up a lot to everything I encounter in my life. And so that's why I wanted to share that with you. And that was my presentation, basically.